It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show. I've been raking up off these niggas for a minute now. Hey, y'all gonna learn to listen one way or another though. Hey, let's get it. Let me show you how I keep the money coming. Strapped up like he check, nigga run it. In the mirror, yeah, I love what I'm becoming. Ain't no discussion, boy, don't make me spit your onion. Hey, let me show you how I keep the money coming. Strapped up like he check, nigga run it. In the mirror, yeah, I love what I'm becoming. Ain't no discussion, boy, don't make me split your onion. Flashback to the days, I was in the days. I was sleeping on the couch, couldn't nobody stay. I was serving up the chicken, couldn't get a raise. Now I'm cooking up the game like I'm Bobby Flay. Fuck rap, I ain't got no friends in this shit. Put them M's to the front like a Benz in this shit. I be swimming through the money, got some fins in this shit. I be stomping through the street like some Timbs in this bitch. Made trends in this shit for some IOUs, but I don't lose. Construction high, tighten them screws. Tie up my shoes, back on the block, straight to the bag, ho. Jumping off the porch for that green like a tadpole. Let me show you how I keep the money coming. Strapped up like he check, nigga run it. In the mirror, yeah, I love what I'm becoming. Ain't no discussion, boy, don't make me spit your onion. Ay, let me show you how I keep the money coming. Strapped up like he check, nigga run it. In the mirror, yeah, I love what I'm becoming. Ain't no discussion, boy, don't make me spit your onion. Ay. What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well this Saturday afternoon going into the evening. I want to go ahead and say I was supposed to have a Joe Budden reaction to the Drake lawsuit or whatever that was supposed to drop today. It looks like it's going to be pushed back to tomorrow. Blame YouTube for the ad suitability stuff on there. Every time that they run ad suitability on my stuff, it ends up getting cleared, but it takes like a day for them to do it. It's another one of those things that they put you through when they feel like you're doing too much or you're getting, too many subscribers or views or whatever in a condensed time period. They start doing stuff like this. They've done this to me numerous times, but I thought I was in the clear. But so when y'all see the video tomorrow and I say something about Saturday, I just want y'all to understand what's going on. Okay. Now in this video, we're going to be talking about Megan Thee Stallion and more specifically Milagro, right? Milagro Grrrls. Of course, they're in a legal battle going back and forth. Megan Thee Stallion has filed a defamation case against Milagro for harassment and disparaging comments and spreading falsehoods and misnomers and misinformation across the internet, and also the promotion of a deep fake S-tape. We all know these things, but every time we do these videos, I want to give people a refresher and a reminder of what this is all about, because some people may be jumping in today, but maybe we're not here for the previous. So I just want to give everybody a quick refresher course. The ball is now in, the ball in this video is in Milagro's court. She's coming and delivering once again another motion to dismiss, right? Megan has put her statements out there. She's put her references out there. She's put all of her different pre-discovery and all that stuff. So now we're at the point where Milagro and her legal team have decided to respond. And in this video, we're going to be covering said response as to why she thinks that this defamation suit against her should be dropped, okay? And of course, when Megan responds once again with more paperwork and reason as to why she thinks it should go forward, we will update at that time, okay? Just want to give y'all a quick little introduction, and then let's get to the paperwork. Okay, so this was filed yesterday, January 17th, Megan Pete versus Milagro Elizabeth Cooper. Defendant's reply memorandum in response to plaintiff's response to defendant's motion to dismiss plaintiff's first amended complaint. All right. Defendant Milagro Elizabeth Cooper, through undersigned counsel, hereby files her reply memorandum in response to DE 33, plaintiff's response to defendant's motion to dismiss first amended complaint, and states the following. This is a rebuttal of matters raised in plaintiff's response. A, defamation. Okay. So they say here, application of Florida Statute 770-01. Plaintiff's argument that this statute does not apply to defendant is buttressed on the obsolete mindset that it applies only to legacy media such as radio, television, and newspapers. So I believe that this statute that they're referring to is basically, remember when we talked about it, Megan said that Milagro herself has come out and said that she's not a journalist. And they say that she should not be protected by the statute because she is not a journalist or standard media. And now Milagro and her legal team are coming back with the rebuttal stating that they're basically going to try to make her media, right? So they say, however, as noted recently by the recent presidential election results, bloggers and live streamers are now part of the media where many members of the public get their information and entertainment. Defendant, as alleged in the FAC, is a blogger with over 100,000 followers who reports on various pop culture items, not just the plaintiff. As such, as noted by the authorities cited by defendant, she is entitled to pre-suit notice under Section 770.01. And again, this statute protects media members from defamation in certain cases. So that's why they're pointing to this. They say plaintiff suggests, and plaintiff being Megan Thee Stallion, plaintiff suggests that because she alleges that the defendant is on the payroll of Mr. Peterson, which is not true, they state, but we do have, payments being exchanged. This somehow disqualifies her from having to receive pre-suit notice under this statute. This argument is without merit. All media companies, even legacy media, receive monies through advertising, especially trade publications. Now, that's the thing. You say money through advertising. How can we solidify that the money that's coming from Tory Lanez's father was for advertising? What is it that you advertised for him that would suffice to say that this is an advertising payment? They say taking the plaintiff's argument to its ultimate conclusion, then by virtue of receiving such monies, they would no longer be subject to the statute as well. Notably, this incongruous conclusion is not supported by the plain language of the statute. Plaintiff's noncompliance, therefore, requires dismissal. So they say based on that, this should be dismissed. Defendant's comments about plaintiff's credibility at trial is pure opinion and protected under the First Amendment. So they say here, plaintiff, as in Megan, takes the position that if someone does not parrot her preferred narrative, this constitutes defamation. In fact, plaintiff takes this even further by suggesting that even statements made by the defendant criticizing the police regarding the gun, bullet fragments, and DNA somehow is defamatory to her. This is not defamation nor actionable under Florida law. Plaintiff also makes the specious argument that criticizing the credibility of a witness at trial, especially one that is a public figure, is tantamount to defamation. Plaintiff's argument is flawed because, again, it presumes that simply because the jury convicted Mr. Peterson, plaintiff's trial testimony is therefore incontestable. Further, plaintiff again misstates the facts in that defendant has repeatedly criticized the credibility of the trial witnesses in the criminal trial, which is sensible given that one of the key witnesses, Ms. Harris, pled the Fifth Amendment and was given immunity and given testimony that plaintiff and Ms. Harris were both intoxicated and could not remember certain facts, and given that plaintiff admitted after the incident that she didn't tell police she had been shot, saying instead that she stepped on broken glass. Okay, so they're saying that Kelsey pled the Fifth Amendment and was given immunity. So they're saying that Milagro also questioned her credibility, right? And she questions Megan's credibility because she lied to the police. But let's remember that she did that in a moment to try to protect Tory Lanez. But I guess that part won't be spoken on. They say it was only 4 days later in an interview with Detective Strogner that plaintiff claimed to have been shot. Further, plaintiff admitting to lying on national television about her relationship with Mr. Lanez. It's not about whether or not she claims to have been shot. It's about the fact that the actual medical professionals determined that she had been shot. Okay. Further, plaintiff admitting to lying on national television about her relationship with Mr. Lanez. These are some of the items in the defendant's statements that form the basis of her opinion. Once again, the plaintiff's trial testimony cannot be proven to be true or false. It was up to the jury to believe her or disbelieve her along with the testimony of other witnesses. Thus, suggesting plaintiff was not a credible witness or that she was a liar does not ipso facto constitute an accusation of perjury or defamation per se. Okay, so that's their second grounds of trying to clear Milagro of defamation. Number 3, calling an individual slow or retard does not rise to the level of actionable defamation against a public individual. Plaintiff's suggestion that defendant asking an evaluating question about the plaintiff's mental status somehow rises to the level of defamation is nonsensical. Again, looking at the full context of the quote and the live stream video rather than the edited portions, clearly the defendant noted that these were questions that should be asked of the plaintiff. Megan is the plaintiff. So they're going to quote here Milagro. Okay? They're expounding on a quote that Megan placed in her filing. She says, Megan said that he pointed a gun at her with intent to harm her and that she was afraid for her life. How if Sean Kelly and if Jaquan Smith saw what they saw, and that deserves another trial off that alone. And I'm going to tell you something else. That motherfucking 911 call needs to be unsealed immediately because Sean Kelly called the police for an altercation that took place before shots were fired. I guarantee that we will hear everything play out on that phone call. He was right on the balcony above their heads, very fucking close. Furthermore, babe, what is Megan's mental status? Does she have a guardian or not? I'm trying to understand what the relevance is between Megan's mental status of having a guardian or of knowing whether or not she was shot. And even if the police were called before the shots were fired for an altercation, that doesn't mean that the shots were never fired. It just means that somebody called police due to a disturbance. Just going by what she's talking about. I'm really actually surprised that her legal team is putting these quotes in here because none of what they quote in here actually absolves her of anything that she's saying. Like the language of the actual statement above, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, that maybe. But then when you look at what she actually said, it's like, you sure you want to quote that for the judge? Anyway, let's keep going. She says, what is Megan's mental status? Does she have a guardian or not? She has been listed as a capable person. Has she ever been deemed like legally retarded? Anything of the nature, anything of the sort? Those are good questions. Megan Thee Stallion has a mugshot from a situation with the next boyfriend where she was arrested for domestic violence. Was she ever supposed to be in possession of a weapon? That could be a reason why we don't want to claim this gun. That's the same color as a lot of stuff you wear. Little Miss Olive Green. I have questions that need answers. So you mean to tell me that you're going to say that this gun could have been hers because she wears green, olive green? Really? You're bringing up a DV situation from many years ago for what? You're saying that she shouldn't have been around a firearm? Do we know whether or not Megan is supposed to be around firearms? I don't know of her being on probation currently or even at the time, 2020. Someone would have to let me know if she was still on probation at the time or ever on probation for that matter. We'll continue. Contrary to plaintiff's contention that this court should disregard the entire post and look only at the four corners of the FAC, it is axiomatic that when the video and posts are linked in the pleading and the information at issue is part of what was shared in the videos and postings. As a result, the information is in the pleadings. I'm going to get past some of this. Given the context of the statement, it is clearly not a statement of fact and further requires serious overreach to suggest that this statement is reasonably understood to suggest plaintiff is mentally incapacitated. I think, so what they're saying is Milagro never actually called Megan slow or mentally challenged, but she asked questions of whether or not she was. But again, I do believe that in a courtroom with a judge who has a brain of their own, they can say, in the midst of a conversation and you saying that, sometimes questions can also be implied statements, but that's just off of my limited education. I'm not a legal professional. Let's keep going. Plaintiff intentionally misstates defendant's statement in paragraph 69 through 71. Plaintiff's reluctance to refer to the full statements in context of defendant's post and suggestion that the full post should be ignored in this matter is reminiscent of the Wizard of Oz telling everyone to ignore the man behind the curtain. What the fuck does the Wizard of Oz have to do with y'all legal dispute? Plaintiff suggests that the statements in defendant's October 29, 2024 live stream refers to her when in fact they refer to a California-based reporter, the cockeyed lady, who happens to have the same first name as plaintiff, though different spelling. So here they're taking shots at Miss Megan Cuniff, of course, who covers this very closely, who covered the Tory Lanez Megan Thee Stallion trial very closely, and for the most part has been the preferred source for information regarding that trial and incident over Milagro, because she misinterpreted a lot of stuff back at that time. So now she's saying that she went on live stream October 29th and was talking about Megan as in Megan Cuniff, not Megan Thee Stallion. Now, my question is, I hope y'all not talking about this same quote. I'm hoping that there's a different quote, because this quote says Megan Thee Stallion. Okay, so there's a following statement. Okay. And it continues to cover plaintiff's case in the media. This is clear from the full quote in the context of the October 29th, 2024 statement. In context, the statement, which is a response to plaintiff's counsel document preservation letter, reads in part as follows. So this is another quote from Milagro. She says, "Let me explain something to you. Alex Spiro didn't have nothing to do with that trial. Excuse me. Why are you sitting up here telling us where a gun is supposed to be? You ain't even making no sense, sir. And guess what? Since you said it is available either way you spin it, it's a problem. If it's missing, that's a problem. If it's not missing, why has his side, what? Been under the impression that it cannot be retested and that it's not available for testing? So what? What's going on here? Those are the questions that you have to ask. So I feel like they're trying to control the narrative. I feel like this is a scare tactic. I feel like they do. They don't want you discussing these things, and I firmly believe that they didn't think it would get this far. We wouldn't even be having this conversation had they rejected everything. And then you get on social media, and the cockeyed lady that says she's seen Megan, she's online telling you he has no chance. Okay, so this is where they say the cockeyed lady. Everything's going to get rejected. How the hell you know? It baffles me how people beat jail time and want to come up and act like they own a damn high horse. You ought to be somewhere for your alleged crimes, drunkie. Now, you know when you start calling somebody a drunkie, you're not talking about no damn Megan Cuniff. Why do you even speak? Like, does your liver even function? Well, you have so many different things going on with you. I don't get it, but whatever. So, it's a whole bunch of he say, she say. I think they're upset. They said that all of this is coming out because Megan's documentary is coming out, baby. The universe did this. You're a fucking lie. Your team is a lie, and they're trying to uphold your lies. Now, you did call her the cockeyed lady and talk about how she's covering these things. But when it comes to the part where you say somewhere for your alleged crimes, drunkie, what crimes has she done? And what do we know about Megan Cuniff and her being a drunkie? You've called Megan that, Megan Thee Stallion that. I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting tired of this shit. Cause you trying to play in the people's face. And your attorney, I mean, it's their job to try to uphold your integrity, but you have none. As noted by the authorities cited by defendant at pages 9 and 10 of her motion to dismiss, the above statement is not defamatory. It is pure opinion, hyperbole, or at worst, name calling, and moreover, does not even refer to the plaintiff. This is not actionable defamation against a public figure. Plaintiff's FAC fails to plausibly establish malice. Are you crazy? In her papers, the plaintiff suggests that for purposes of a motion to dismiss, malice needs only to be generally pled. Plaintiff is wrong. First, plaintiff again misstates the test for malice by citing the negligence standard for a private individual rather than the higher, clear, and convincing standard for a public figure. And secondly, her suggestion that conclusory statements are sufficient will not carry the day. As noted by the 11th Circuit, this court held previously that the Twombly-Iqbal plausibility pleading standard applies to the actual malice standard in defamation proceedings. Thus, to plead actual malice, the plaintiff must allege facts sufficient to give rise to a reasonable inference that the false statement was made with knowledge that it was false or with reckless disregard of whether it was false or not. This is a subjective test focusing on whether the defendant actually entertained serious doubts as to the veracity of the published account or was highly aware that the account was probably false. So are y'all trying to say that you can't establish malice because she's a public figure? Plaintiff's interpretation of FS 836.13 violates the First and 14th Amendment and runs afoul of the plain text of the statute. No matter how the plaintiff wishes to spin the facts, the reality is such that count 2 is buttressed on these mere facts. 1. The liking of a third-party online post containing an alleged deepfake video. 2. Speaking about the deepfake video in a live stream and intimating that the video is likely a deepfake. And 3. Posting go to my like so that others can see what she is discussing in the live stream. This does not fall within the narrow definition of promote under Florida Statute 836.13. Plaintiff also misstates the record where she states that the defendant shared the video on her profile. She did not. She simply pressed the like button on a third-party post. She did not repost it. However, based on the description of the like functionality, especially at the time in which it was liked, it was used as a promotion tactic. Even Twitter used your likes as a promotion tactic to put that in front of other people. So it wasn't just about going on a person's profile and hitting their like tab. Liked posts were actually promoted even more in front of people on Twitter's feed at the time when this took place. So interesting play. Notably, plaintiff ignores the case law cited by defendant, which states that in Florida, statutes like these must be narrowly construed in favor of defendant and against the plaintiff. The silence is deafening. Clearly, to interpret the statute as broadly as plaintiff suggests will violate the First Amendment as an overboard content-based restriction. As noted in the Florida Senate's bill analysis and fiscal impact statement to Bill SB 1798, March 2nd, 2022, it states currently no states completely ban the creation or distribution of all deep fakes. A complete ban of such images would likely run afoul of constitutional protections under the First Amendment. However, certain categories of speech, including defamation, fraud, true threats, and the imminent and likely incitement of violence, do not receive protections under the First Amendment. Some deep fakes will likely fall into one of those categories and therefore may be regulated. So what I'm not understanding is when they say not all deep fakes run afoul of constitutional protection, something such as a fake sex tape, something such as a deep fake version of revenge porn, I'm quite sure would fall under that category. But y'all be safe out there. In light of the above commentary, coupled with the statute's narrow definition of promote, it is clear that the conduct the statute was intended to cover does not cover the allegations in the FAC. Furthermore, the allegations in the FAC also fail to tell the whole story, as demonstrated by her cherry-picking portions of the defendant's online posts. Accordingly, to assist the court, the defendant has filed as a supplement to the appendix transcripts of her live streams, which show the full context of what she said on June 8, 2024. All the defendant did was report on something that was sent to her while she was live streaming. There are no allegations in the FAC that the defendant's conduct in discussing the video, hitting the like button or someone's post or posting go to my likes will fall into the categories of defamation, fraud, true threats, and the imminent and likely incitement of violence. In this day and age, when celebrities and influencers themselves release sex videos for publicity, the defendant reviewed it and concluded it was in all likelihood a fake and suggested Miss Pete sue the perpetrator. She did not promote it within the meaning of the statute. The one who did was the individual who created it. Once again, the plaintiff is looking to criminalize protected speech under the First Amendment to censor the defendant. At worst, the matter is moot, as the posts were taken down. Thus, count 2 of the FAC should be dismissed with prejudice, as any amendment would be futile. Yeah, they were taken down once this lawsuit hit. It wasn't taken down at the time. I wonder what the law states about that. Like, if you get sued for something you post online and you get wind of the lawsuit, and then you say, well, let me take this down. Is that like a suppression of evidence? Or what would you call that? Or are you legally allowed to try to delete things that you could possibly be under legal punishment for? I don't know. I'm not a legal professional, right? Plaintiff has cited no authority to plausibly support her claim for 2ED. Plaintiff's opposition paper suggests that claims for intentional infliction of emotional distress cannot be determined at the motion to dismiss stage. The suggestion is without merit and ignores the panoply, or whatever you want to call it, of cases cited in defendant's motion to dismiss. Further, her reliance on Albert v. National Cash Registry is of no help to her, as it relies on the pre-Twombly Iqbal standard of review and does not take into consideration binding case law in this district. Furthermore, plaintiff completely ignores all of the decisions cited by defendant, which show that there can be no 2ED claim in the absence of serious violent actions, SA, or death. That claims for IIED are routinely dismissed in Florida at the motion to dismiss stage. Okay, they say, as it stands, Florida courts have shown a particular solitude for the emotional vulnerability of survivors regarding improper behavior toward the dead body of a loved one, as well as special deference to family feelings where rights involving dead bodies are concerned. Okay, likewise, so they show citing Williams versus City of Mineola, denying summary judgment where police officers displayed grotesque pictures of a family member's dead body. Likewise, the court's decision in Gallagly versus Rodriguez provides Pete no refuge at this case, dealt with egregious police misconduct where there were allegations of a police officer engaging in heinous acts of extortion against the plaintiff by conducting a continuing campaign of harassment, by running a drug and prostitution ring out of the plaintiff's bottle club, and refusing to investigate illegal activities inside or associated with the bottle club, while harassing plaintiff and his employees to ensure their silence. In fact, the district court in Gomez versus United States, in distinguishing Gallagly, granted a motion to dismiss a 2ED claim where the allegations were more egregious than the mere name-calling alleged here. So they say stronger claims have been dismissed, basically. Okay. Clearly, these allegations are more severe than what is alleged here, and despite that there were actual physical touchings in Gomez, Judge Moore held that the use of force was de minimis and that the remark, while distasteful, was not repeated on multiple occasions, was not a direct threat, and therefore failed to state a plausible claim for IED, thereby dismissing the count with prejudice. Notably, plaintiff has not and cannot point to any case supporting her claim. Accordingly, count 3 of the FAC should be dismissed with prejudice, as once again, any amendment at this point would be futile. All right, count 4 fails to plausibly state a claim for cyberstalking, so she's denying the cyberstalking. Despite the plaintiff's spin to suggest that she states a claim for cyberstalking, what she really is seeking is an injunction to censor the defendant from uttering statements she disagrees with. Notably, her response fails to address the authorities cited by defendant, which unequivocally hold that in Florida, injunctions are not available to stop someone from uttering insults or falsehoods, or for that matter, misinformation. Okay? So in order for them to even make this claim, they basically have to say that Milagro is spreading misinformation, insults, and falsehoods, and basically saying that injunctions are not available for this. Further, plaintiff's reliance on Strober v. Harris 332, so 3D 1079, 1087 is unavailing. First, that decision does not involve a public figure. Secondly, the allegations in this matter once again pale in comparison to those in Strober, where it was alleged that the defendant had directly used threats against the plaintiff and incited threats from her viewers, falsely accused the plaintiff of child abuse, announced her home address online to his viewers, and published a photograph of her minor daughter. Some of the threats included outright death threats, pictures of mutilated and dismembered human bodies, a picture of a young black woman in a casket, photographs edited to show a plaintiff hanging from a tree, the home addresses of plaintiff and other members of her family, and a picture of a location near plaintiff's home with the message, "See you soon." So this was somebody that was literally being threatened in multiple instances that I guess had their charges dismissed also. Moreover, the court did not hold that the allegation stated a claim under the statute. Rather, the case was reversed because the state court failed to apply the full statutory definition of cyberstalk in its decision and held that there was no personal jurisdiction over the claim. The court thus reversed and remanded so that the trial court could reconsider the evidence under the correct statutory standard, ID at 1987. Again, in this case, sub judice, there are no allegations here of any death threats or threats of violence, or are there any allegations that the defendant incited such threats from her viewers or listeners. Again, it is perverse that the plaintiff would waste the resources of this federal court in seeking an injunction to censor defendant because she allegedly called plaintiff a lying asshole, like legally rata, or a drunkie. Well, what about when you said you was gonna beat her ass? The First Amendment prohibits such restraints through use of injunctive relief. Accordingly, should the court invoke supplemental jurisdiction over count 4, it should dismiss the claim with prejudice for its failure to plausibly state a claim under 7840485 Florida statute. Finally, in her opposition papers, plaintiff suggests that this court has no discretion under 28 U.S.C. 1367 C4 to decline jurisdiction over the cyberstalking claim. Again, plaintiff is wrong. It is clear that count 4, which seeks purely injunctive relief under a Florida statute, is brought pursuant to section 1367, given that it is not a claim for monetary damages. Diversity jurisdiction exists in this matter solely on her allegations that her damages under her state tort claims exceed $75,000. In fact, the FAC itself invokes the court's supplemental jurisdiction under section 1367 ID. Accordingly, this flies in the face of her argument that defendant's presumption that the claim is brought pursuant to the court's supplemental jurisdiction and that it has discretion to dismiss is wrong. Again, the reality is that count 4 can only be brought in this court pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1367, and as such, this court has the discretion to decline supplemental jurisdiction based on the well-reasoned opinions by Judge Wetherill in Casanova v. Harvey. E. Plaintiff's improper request for attorney's fees in counts 1, 3, and 4. Plaintiff's response does not dispute that she has no legal basis for attorney's fees in counts 1, 3, and 4. She merely argues that it is premature to dismiss and or strike these claims. However, the court need not wait until plaintiff files a motion for attorney's fees to rule on the instant motion seeking to strike the fee references asserted in counts 1, 3, and 4. Because plaintiff has already conceded there is no statutory or contractual basis for awarding under those counts. Okay. And then they go to Hodge versus Orlando, 2009, where a prayer for relief was not available under the applicable law. It is properly subject to a motion to strike, granting a motion to strike attorney, blah, blah, blah. So in conclusion, this is the last piece. This case is emblematic of how rich celebrities are using the courts and their financial means these days to silence their critics by bringing forward spurious claims against those who generally do not have the resources to defend these cases, with the hope and intent that their critics will cave, be defaulted, or go bankrupt. So they're trying to say that Megan Thee Stallion is leveraging her financial status and money that she has at her disposal to silence critics, okay? And in this case, Milagro would be said critic, right? Under the hopes that she would either cave, as in give up, stop fighting, stop talking about her, right? Be defaulted, as in be awarded a judgment that Milagro can't pay, right? Or go bankrupt, meaning they get forced to pay up until they go broke. Plaintiff takes this weaponization of the court system a step further by bringing a federal action for such nonsensical things such as schoolyard name calling, and for critical opinions and commentary by defendant describing the plaintiff's conduct, which the plaintiff has herself admitted to in her songs, in trial testimony, and in her recently publicized documentary. This is why defamation cases like this should be decided at the motion to dismiss stage, as there is a powerful interest in ensuring that free speech is not unduly burdened by the necessity of defending against expensive yet groundless litigation. Plaintiff further suggests that the defendant should be censored and penalized because she is allegedly publishing rumors and misinformation. Even if this were correct, this does not obviate the protections the First Amendment provides the defendant, as even misinformation is protected under the First Amendment. So they cite C. Susan B. Anthony list versus Driehaus, striking down Ohio law prohibiting reckless false statements about candidates in campaign materials, emphasizing that the law too broadly swept in non-material statements and intermediaries. But that's a political campaign. All they do is sling mud in political campaigns at each other. Whatever. As noted by Justice Kennedy and Alvarez, the nation well knows that one of the cause for the First Amendment is that it protects the speech we detest as well as speech we embrace. Though few might find respondent's statements anything but contemptible, his right to make those statements is protected by the Constitution's guarantee of freedom of speech and expression. So they're saying even the speech that you don't like to hear or that would be seen as detestable is still protected under free speech. That's what they're trying to claim for Milagro. Finally, plaintiff's suggestion that a guilty verdict in a criminal case precludes those like defendant from criticizing witness credibility, prosecutorial conduct, trial evidence, and how the case was handled is chilling. There are no safe spaces in the real world, especially for artists who are public figures, as this is the business they have chosen. Now, what I find interesting here in this statement is to say that there is no safe spaces for artists or public figures. I think that that's a pretty broad stroke. And that basically what they're trying to say is once you become a public figure, you're not protected. That's what she's trying to say. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, even when we see this Drake thing, he's a public figure. He's trying to sue for defamation. So I don't know. We'll have to see how this thing plays. As Justice Brandeis noted nearly 100 years ago, if there be time to expose through discussion the falsehood and fallacies to avert the evil by the processes of education, the remedy to be applied is more speech, not enforced silence. Perhaps plaintiff, who is a new resident to the state of Florida, should read about Florida's dark history, where the Groveland Four were convicted based on patently false and coerced testimony and racial bias. Just because a jury convicts a defendant does not mean that the state's case was and should be deemed the gospel, and that those speaking out against the conviction should be condemned as heretics. If this were the case, then why have appellate court? So basically she's saying that just because somebody gets convicted in court does not mean that people are not wrongfully convicted based on certain types of bias, right? And they're saying if this was, a broad stroke, then why do we have appellate courts for people to appeal their innocence, right? Accordingly, based on the foregoing and on the grounds set forth in the motion to dismiss, defendant respectfully requests that the plaintiff's First Amendment complaint be dismissed. Alternatively, if this court deems it appropriate, defendant respectfully requests pursuant to Rule 12D Fed R Civil P that this court convert this motion into a motion for summary judgment. So that's Milagro and her legal team's response. They want all of the counts of defamation and such to be tossed. Do I think that the judge is going to toss it and not evaluate it? I don't. But of course, she's trying to defend herself and her legal team's trying to defend her. I don't necessarily think they're doing a great job, but I do think some of the things that they did point out, they are interesting. They could possibly work as some form of protection for her, but I don't know how far those protections will extend based on the extensive amount of accounts that Megan has in her filings to at least show that there is some level of malice, there is some level of harassment, there are some levels of threats of physical violence where she said that she was literally going to beat her ass, that she was going to slap the shit out of her for fucking with her guy or whatever the case may be. So I think those things need to be examined a little bit closer. That's what I say, right? Now, how this is going to be handled from the judge, I do not know. I think that Milagro is extremely irresponsible with her platform. I think she needs to be more careful with her words. And again, there is just a very high count of different things that she said towards Megan. Very pointed commentary, very biased commentary, which bias everyone has, but very disrespectful. And I think she's ultimately going to have to pay. But again, I am not a legal professional. Let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, become an insider. And I will catch y'all on the next one. Much love and respect, y'all. Peace.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rags. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef on computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. With drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they doubted me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I've been dropping these haters like calories. First I'm out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but too raw, no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.